All day yesterday, headwinds. Oh my gosh, the headwinds. Luckily, I had Chuck Box's brand new book, Long Range, which I read every page of. Flew from the Beltway to Chicago and from Chicago out to the West Coast. Took forever to get here, beating against the wind, but Long Range made it worth the while. Chuck Box's new book. And while I was doing that, President Trump came out and did exactly the smart thing. Put Vice President Pence in charge of the White House task force, the administration-wide task force. I expect markets to be very calm today because coronavirus is, the more you understand about it, the less you're worried about it. About 80% of the cases worldwide. China did a massive study, and there are other indications that this is absolutely rock solid. 8 out of 10 simply are bad colds, flus. 20% can develop into pneumonia, and of those 20%, a few will result in fatality, usually with comorbidities. But good move by the president yesterday, because what you got to do about it is overwhelm innuendo, rumor, and panic with information. The president did that yesterday in the White House. He came out talking about preparedness at 6 p.m. East Coast time. Cut number 21, the president for the rundown.
Very, very ready for this, for anything, whether it's going to be a breakout of larger proportions or whether or not we're at that very low level, and we want to keep it that way. So we're at the low level. As they get better, we take them off the list so that we're going to be pretty soon at only 5 people, and we could be at just 1 or 2 people over the next short period of time. So we've had very good luck. The Johns Hopkins, I guess it is a highly respected, great place. They did a study, comprehensive, the country's best and worst prepared for an epidemic. And the United States is now, we're rated number 1. We're rated number 1 for being prepared. This is a list of different countries. I don't want to get in your way, especially since you do such a good job. This is a list of the different countries. United States is rated number 1, most prepared. United Kingdom, Netherlands, Australia, Canada, Thailand, Sweden, Denmark, South Korea, Finland. This is a list of the best rated countries in the world.
And that, he's right. We are well prepared, and all he has to do is get someone out there to talk about how well prepared we are, and he did that yesterday by naming the vice president cut 22.
And what I've done is I'm going to be announcing exactly right now that I'm going to be putting our Vice President, Mike Pence, in charge. And Mike will be working with the professionals, doctors, and everybody else that's working. The team is brilliant. I spent a lot of time with the team over the last couple of weeks, but they're totally brilliant, and we're doing really well. And Mike is going to be in charge, and Mike will report back to me. But he's got a certain talent for this, and I'm going to ask Mike Pence to say a few words, please. Thank you.
And then Mike Pence gets up here, and this is why you want him being the lead messaging person in an administration that sometimes competes within itself for top dog spot. There's no doubting the vice president's number 2 in the government. He steps up, cut number 24.
Thank you, Mr. President. President Trump's made clear from the first days of this administration we have no higher priority than the safety, security, health, and well-being of the American people. And from the first word of an outbreak of the coronavirus, the president took unprecedented steps to protect the American people from the spread of this disease. He recounted those briefly, but the establishment of travel restrictions, aggressive quarantine effort of Americans that are returning, the declaration of a public health emergency, and establishing the White House Corona Task Force are all reflective of the urgency that the president has brought to a whole-of-government approach.
Now, he continued on, and this is the heart of yesterday. Mike Pence just lays out why the threat of coronavirus remains low for Americans. There are 82,449 cases worldwide. 2,809 people have died. 32,756 people have completely recovered, and it's mostly in Asia, South Korea, some in Italy. It will eventually get here and circulate wider than it is, but then Mike Pence lays out why, gives you the rundown of why you should not be worried. Cut 29.
As a former governor from the state where the first MERS case emerged in 2014, I know full well the importance of presidential leadership, the importance of administration leadership, and the vital role of partnerships of state and local governments and health authorities in responding to the potential threat of dangerous infectious diseases. And I look forward, Mr. President, to serving in this role and bringing together all the members of the Corona Task Force that you've established, HHS, CDC, DHS, the Department of Transportation, and State. This team has been, at your direction, Mr. President, meeting every day since it was established. My role will be to continue to bring that team together, to bring to the President the best options for action to see to the safety and well-being and health of the American people. We'll also be continuing to reach out to governors, state and local officials. In fact, in the recent days, the White House met with over 40 state, county, and city health officials from over 30 states and territories to discuss how to respond to this, to the potential threat of the coronavirus. We'll be working with them in renewed ways to make sure they have the resources to be able to respond. And as the President said, we'll be adding additional personnel here at the White House to support our efforts on the President's behalf. We'll also be working with members of Congress to ensure that the resources are available for this whole of government response, and we'll be working very closely with Secretary Azar and his team that have done an outstanding job communicating to the public to ensure the American people have the best information on ways to protect themselves and their families, and also that the public has the most timely information on the potential threat to the American people. Mr. President, as we've been briefed, while the threat to the American public remains low of a spread of the coronavirus, you have directed this team to take all steps necessary to continue to ensure the health and well-being of the American people. And the people of this country can be confident that under your leadership, we will continue to bring the full resources of the federal government in coordination with our state and local partners to see to the health and well-being and to the effective response to the coronavirus here in the United States of America.
That's exactly what needed to be said. It's what Peter Navarro said on the show yesterday. It's what I wrote about earlier in the Washington Post. You've just got to focus attention, repeat again and again. We're fine, we're fine, we're fine. And make sure you're getting vaccines developed, cures explored. Donald Trump talked about the vaccine, by the way, cut number 25.
We have in quarantine those infected and those at risk. We have a lot of great quarantine facilities. We're rapidly developing a vaccine, and they can speak to you. The professionals can speak to you about that. The vaccine is coming along well, and in speaking to the doctors, we think this is something that we can develop fairly rapidly, a vaccine for the future, and coordinate with the support of our partners. We have great relationships with all of the countries that we're talking about. Some fairly large number of countries. Some it's one person. And many countries have no problem whatsoever. And we'll see what happens. But we're very, very ready for this, for anything, whether it's going to be a breakout of larger proportions or whether or not we're at that very low level.
And he went on to say, cut number 28. It's not inevitable that it will get to China levels or South Korea levels. Cut 28.
CDC said yesterday that they believe it's inevitable that the virus will spread in the United States, and it's not a question of if, but when. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I don't think it's inevitable. It probably will. It possibly will. It could be at a very small level, or it could be at a larger level. Whatever happens, we're totally prepared. We have the best people in the world. You see that from the study. We have the best prepared people, the best people in the world. Congress is willing to give us much more than we're even asking for. That's nice for a change. But we are totally ready, willing, and able. It's a term that we use. It's ready, willing, and able.
And he's right, and he did the right thing. The rundown for yesterday is President Trump takes control, elevates Mike Pence. They start the information flowing. And people start to calm down as they realize most of the economic disruption is now priced into the market. There might be a little bit here and a little bit there that is a disruptor, but generally speaking, everything's just fine now that we've actually started to pay attention. Don't go anywhere, America. I'll be right back. Lots more on today's Hugh Hewitt Show.